How are we doing? Today we are going to sketch a self-portrait. This is going to be a pretty detailed sketch, and drawing a face is difficult. It really is. Everybody knows what a face should look like. It's difficult to get all of the proportions right. But it takes practice. We have to be brave. We just have to go for it. So what you're going to do to warm up would be to do kind of a gesture or a quick sketch 1 to 2 times. So do a quick sketch, check the proportions, maybe do another quick sketch, and then do a slower one, much more detailed. Now you can find a picture off of the internet if you like, or take a picture of yourself. In this case, I'm using a mirror. And it's a sketch, so I'm loose. Notice how I'm holding the pencil, not super precise. This is a learning activity. This is practice. Now, one thing about the face is proportions and positions, getting everything in the right place. When I look, I can see that the bottom of my ears and the bottom of my nose line up. All right, that's very useful information. If you're looking at somebody, a face straight on, right, that's often going to happen. These are kind of standard proportions. So they're a starting point. But one, everybody's face is different. Two, as soon as you tilt the angle of the face, everything goes out of whack. So it's only for kind of these are basic proportions looking straight on. That the bottom of the ears might line up with the nose, the top of the ears and the eyebrows. So the key is to see how everything fits together. The inside of my eye lines up with the nose, lines up with the outside of the mouth. That's something to check, to see how close that is or isn't, depending on your face. Okay, and then as I get into a little more detail, I do sometimes change the grip of my pencil. I do need a little more control in some areas. But again, I'm just getting things loosely in there. I know they're not going to be perfect, but my goal is to get it about right. Even when I'm getting some of the shadows help. They're another element. I can see how close my eye is to a shadow. So as I fill things in, as I build, it gets nicer and nicer. Now, one important thing is checking our positions and proportions. So here's another one. This is going to be much tougher because my face is at a little bit of an angle. So I've got that quick sketch done. Now what am I looking at here? How do I know if it's right? I can tell something's wrong. There's always something wrong. But what is it exactly? So one of the common things is looking at the distance between the edge of the eyes and the edge of your head. Right? Is that about right? I'm lining up the top of my ear. It's a high point. So what does the top of my ear line up with? Well, look at that. My eyebrow is actually above the top of my ear. So now I have to go back and look at my drawing. Right, my nose lines up with what? My nose lines up with the inside of my eye. So these are things so I have to check this. Look, my eyebrow is definitely a little too low. Something's wrong here, actually. The top of my ear is above my eye. So I need to fix that, right? I'm just going to raise it up a little bit. Well, first of all, I got to check. Is it my eye that's wrong, or is it the ear that's wrong? So I'm going to look here. The bottom of my ear looks right. The bottom of my ear is lined up with the tip of my nose, right? Above the very bottom of my nose. So that looks about right. So I'm going to have to raise my ear a little bit. And then I'm going to have to raise the eyebrow to above my ear. I notice that the inside of my eyebrow is about the same as my ear, and then it kind of rises a little bit, right? There's a bit of an angle there. So let's get that in there lightly. And where's my other eyebrow? That's probably going to line up, right? So again, that eyebrow is low as well. So let's get that in there about right. Maybe that's a little high. And then I have this nice dark, right? See that shadow that comes right off my eyebrow next to my nose? That's an easy, like, that's so visible. I want to definitely get that in there right away. Like putting shadows helps because it shows you I have the eye, I have the shadow, and then I have the eyebrow, right? To get that space right, getting those obvious shadows works. Where's the end of my eyebrow compared to the end of my eye? The distance between my head and the end of the eyebrow. All right, I guess my head's a little wider than I originally had it. So these are the things we're looking at. And again, we could do this all day. We want to get it about right. It kind of depends where you're at. If you're just learning, do as much as you have patience for and try to get a little bit better each time, right? And there's a lot to look at. The shape of my head, I noticed, like it's not quite so flat on top. And how do I notice that? I notice that because of negative space. So if I put my marker here, I can see that this is kind of flat actually on the side of my head. So I got to flatten that out. I'm looking at the negative space. So negative space, if you remember, is the space that is around the object. So if this empty space next to my head is the same as the empty space next to my head in the picture, then the positive space is right. Okay, and I'm looking at where does the collar touch my neck, right? So I've got my cheek kind of goes down, and where it starts to curve, that's where the collar comes in. So I had to raise my collar. Okay, now, okay, from my pupil down to my eye. From my pupil to the edge of my mouth, and seeing how that lines up. I don't know if that line's actually perfectly straight. Right, the distance between the edge of my nose and the edge of the face. So there's lots of things to look at. Constantly checking things. Now let's look at this negative space. Right, if that space is the same, that shape is the same as this shape, it's good. Right, if this shape on the outside of my head, looks like I might need a little more of a curve in there now that I look at it, is the same, then we're good. If this negative space is the same, then we're good. Can you see the big, I just see it now. I can see why my face is looking a touch wonky. My nose, the bridge of my nose is actually pretty straight. And in my picture, I have it at an angle. I can see that now in the video. So I need to straighten that out. And I wonder if I do that, if my right eye, or this eye will still be in the right place. So that could cause some trouble. It might work out though. I think it'll work out. We'll see. But those are the challenges of drawing portraits. It's very, very hard, and it takes some time. So just practice using these techniques, looking at negative space, lining up all the different parts of the face, and slowly making it nicer and nicer, more accurate and more accurate. And that's why we draw lightly. That's why we sketch loosely, because we know we're going to have to do lots of fine-tuning and adjusting along the way. Okay? And again, we're not going for perfection. We just want to make it a little more accurate each time we draw. Okay? So be brave, be courageous, right? Get in there and go for it. But don't beat yourself up if we don't get to perfection. be happy that you're going to get a little bit better each time that you do this.